Hey guys, Chris from Propel here, and as you guys know, we're really big fans of Riese and Müller. I've gotten to know them pretty well over the years, and we have a lot of synergy between our two businesses, and I'm excited to be able to offer them in our shops. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the new releases for technically 2021. So since a lot of the models for 2020 ended up selling out very early in the season, Riese and Müller made the decision to release some of the 2021 models a little bit earlier than they normally would. A couple weeks ago, we published a video about the Nevo 3, which was probably one of the most notable changes because this was a complete overhaul of that particular model. So you had the Nevo and the Nevo GT. The Nevo GT had the integrated battery where the regular Nevo had the external battery. And then with the Nevo 3, it moved to the Bosch Generation 4 motor, available in the CX and the Speed version. And then also some other interesting changes went to a 625 watt-hour battery and this rear rack battery, which takes the total battery capacity up to 1125 watt-hours on the medium and larger sizes. Whereas the small size, it's just available with a 500 watt-hour internal battery and a 500 watt-hour external rear rack battery as an option. And as with most of the other newer models with the Generation 4 motor, they're also carrying some other similar trends. Now, using this new cockpit option when you opt for either the kiosk or the smartphone hub, also giving the ability to run the front carrier on the bike along with 2 water bottles, or you can just run 2 water bottles on their own, which is a nice upgrade and I think something that a lot of people have been waiting for. This really required Riese and Müller to redesign the frame to integrate all the wiring and that sort of thing, because that was previously what had gotten in the way of running those water bottles on the head tube of the frame. There's been some changes to many of the other models that had already had the Generation 4 motor along with the power tube, and this includes the Charger3, the Charger3 Mixte, Delite, and Superdelite. Now all these models now have the option to do a 625 watt-hour internal battery. So I'll just go down the list and talk about the models and talk about the slight changes that are happening, which can be ordered now, but there's still going to be some shops like ours that might have stock of the standard version. The 625 is a nice upgrade for those that are looking to get a little bit more range. So starting from the hardtail version, the Charger3, now the Charger3 previously had the option of just a single internal 500 watt-hour battery and no option for an external secondary battery, as was available in previous years. But the Charger3 for 2021 now has the ability to accommodate a 625 watt-hour battery. Now keep in mind, this is a new frame, and all of these bikes that I'm talking about, this is a different frame. They found a different way to engineer things and work with the system to allow for that larger battery. So these changes, unfortunately, are not retrofittable to older models. So 625 watt-hour for Charger3 in all sizes available, and you now have the option in the standard frame versions to do an external 500 watt-hour battery, which mounts just on the top of the down tube. For the mixed version, we have the 625 watt-hour battery available for all versions, and that's the mixed version. Just a lower top tube, makes a lower standover height, makes it a little easier to get on and off of the bike, and more clearance when you're stopped and standing over that top tube. Now for the mixed version, if you wanted to extend the range, you can opt for a rear rack battery similar to that on the Nevo 3, with a 500 watt-hour rear rack battery as an option. So that will bring your total range up to 1125 watt-hours, which is pretty significant. I mean, honestly, many people are just fine with the standard 500 watt-hour battery, but some people, if you really want to go for those longer distance rides, or you really want to ride at the higher level of assistance for longer distances, you'll find that that extra range could be helpful. But it's always an option to carry an extra battery with you, but having that rear rack or the external pack can be really helpful. And some people might be thinking, like, the rear rack battery, isn't it going to make the bike handle weird, having that extra weight there? the reality is that weight is not that much. That rear rack battery is 5.9 pounds, so it's not that significant from my perspective. I mean, some people might be used to an older style electric bike that might have a 10 to 15 pound rear rack battery, but this extra 6 pounds is really not going to make all that much of a difference. Now, keep in mind, you do still have that option for the SuperCharger2, which is kind of in the same family, a hardtail. It's in the same family as the Charger3, and that bike currently is just the two 500 watt-hour batteries, and that's sticking in that direction for now. I don't know if there will be an update in the future. I don't have any information on that, but that's something to consider. Now, going to the full suspension bikes, we're looking at the Delite. The Delite now has the option for 625 watt-hours across the full line of their sizes, so you can get it from the smallest size, 47 centimeter, up to the largest size of 56 centimeters. So that's the main change you're going to see in the Delite models, and you just have that option for that larger battery. The Superdelite also carries those same changes. However, in the 47 centimeter, it's not possible to accommodate the 625 watt-hour battery. It just happened to be that the way the geometry of that frame is set up, it's just not going to fit and work appropriately and be sized correctly. So, and you know, there's some interesting points on this, and some people might argue that, okay, yeah, you should definitely go for the 625 watt-hour. But in some of these bikes where you have two batteries, it might make sense to have two batteries that are the same, as opposed to having one battery that's larger than the other. Because if you wanted to swap the different positions for whatever reason, or maybe in the unlikely event that there's some issue with your battery or issue with the bike in a troubleshooting scenario, you can move one to the other. Or it could be a scenario where maybe you have two bikes as another family member or a spouse or whatever, to be able to swap those batteries back and forth. That might be helpful. Now, keep in mind that not all the bikes share the same style battery. Like, for example, the Nevo has a different style battery. It's a horizontal style, whereas the Charger3 has a vertical style battery, and those are not cross-compatible between those two models. But some of the other models, they will carry the same battery, say if it's a SuperCharger2 and a Charger3 or some other things like that. So it's something to consider, swapping those batteries back and forth. Outside of that, you might be wondering, are there other changes? At the moment, no. There's no new colors. Aside from the Nevo 3, which we actually dropped the color, the Terra Gray is no longer available. We talked about that more on the Nevo 3 video. If you want to check that out, we'll have more details. And then I'll be doing a more detailed review of that bike in the next week or so. We have a special one coming to review, so I'm excited about that. Another really exciting thing to note about all these bikes, because they have the Generation 4 Bosch motor, they're going to be updated by default with the new software. So instead of the standard 75 Newton meters of torque, we have 85 Newton meters of torque, as well as a little bit more dynamic handling characteristics, better performance at lower cadence and off the line starting out. So I think many of you are going to really appreciate that update. If you have a bike currently with a Generation 4 Bosch motor, that can also be updated with this new software. We're going to have a video specifically talking about this, but I think it's important to note. And if you purchase any bike from us, you know, going forward, it will have that new update as well. So you can be excited that you'll have that new higher torque motor without even having to change anything. It's just a software update will perform in the shop. Now, with this information, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, like, what about the rest of the lineup? There's plenty of models that we don't see the 2021 version, or are they going to be updated for 2021? At this time, really, I don't have any information to share on that. I wish that I did. Sure that many people will speculate and come up with their own ideas, but Riese and Müller keeps a pretty tight lip. Actually, when we visited their factory, they have a whole secret area where they do all this development. We actually did a video about how the Riese and Müller bikes are made, and while we were there filming, they're like, that area over there, you can't do anything, you know, you can't look at that. The salespeople are not allowed to look at it. There's a special team that does new product development, and they they kind of keep them separate. We're going to have to wait till around September to know what's going on, and then even at that point, we don't know actually when these new bikes will be built. All I'm talking about today is what I know is happening now. These bikes are being built now, and we're actually starting to receive some of them. So that's mainly what I want to communicate, just get this information out there, help understand, because we made a lot of reviews of these bikes and people are referencing them, and it might be confusing with some of these changes. So I figured it'd be good just to start with this, and then we'll take it from there. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, leave them below, or feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Well, see you soon.